Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our fourth session of our webinar Innovate Together. Those webinars are organized by Lux Innovation, MATERALIA, Pôle SKYWIN, and SKYWIN, four clusters of the greater region. Today's webinar will focus on the European funding and bottom-up initiative. And so to do the moderation today, there will be myself, Jérémy Keller. I'm working from the Pôle MATERALIA, and Alexander Link from Lux Innovation. Good morning, Alexander.
Good morning.
So before going any further, I would like to introduce you to the tools that we are using today and the Livestorm platform. So on the right side of your screen, you will see 4 tabs. The first, the chat. So feel free to say hello, to introduce yourself and speak already about your need in this tab. If you have any question for our speakers, please use the question tab, and those questions will be answered at the end of the webinar. And last, we have the poll tab, and I will ask you to go in it, and you will find a short survey of 3 questions that will help us to know better our audience. And if you can go with me right now, you can answer the 3 questions. The first one is are you interested in taking part in future calls? So yes or no. Did you already collaborate with a partner in the greater region for innovation development? Yes or no. And have you already been involved in a European project? So you can answer right now, or you can do it later on during the webinar. So before starting the presentation and giving you the agenda, I would like to come back a little bit on the context and the objective of those webinars. So for the context, as I said it just before, they are organized by 4 clusters of the greater region. And this year we have a special guest that come from Spain, from Asturias, that gave a presentation at the beginning of the week, and it's the cluster metal for industry. And of course, we are doing those webinars with the support of the NCPs of our respective countries. This cycle of webinar is not new. We started it last year, and with the same objective, that is to foster the collaborative innovation project between the member of our different ecosystem. It's a continuation of the work we did last year, and the idea of today's manifestation, of today's webinar, and the following will always be the same: creating link and collaboration between our respective ecosystems. So interconnect, inform, and inspire with the presentation that we will give you, and then later on do a call for idea, but you will see it more in depth in the coming slide. And normally you should have a pop-up that appear on your screen where you can already register for the following workshop. So as I said, we have a process that is a bit different from last year, because last year it was more about giving information about different program and successful and success story. This year we want to be more in an active process. So we started this week by giving you a presentation about different European call, and at the end you will be able to register on the platform, on a platform, to give your idea of project you need, and you will have for that until the 24th of May. This part is really important for us, because we will use it to analyze it with the NCPs and to create workshops that really fit your needs and your demands, with the idea to be more effective and be able to really create consortia and help you to in your project. So you see that you can register on the following link, and the link that just popped up on your screen just before. So this week agenda, we are at our fourth webinar. We already spoke about the advanced and sustainable by design material, the digitalization and human-robot collaboration, and circular economy and energy transition in industry. So the last one is about the European funding and bottom-up initiative. So for everything that wasn't in the three previous webinar. And I have to also to add that if you didn't participate in the three previous webinar, they will still be they are already available in replay. So for today's agenda, we are already almost done with the introduction. We saw the webinar objective. We will soon see a presentation of the partner of the greater region, the three cluster. And then we will enter in the subject with a presentation by Nicole Boissier about the salon technical priorities for international collaboration. The second speaker, Camelia Del Latte, will speak about Eurostar 3 and the funding scheme. Third speaker of today will be Jenny Goodlatte for IraSME introduction. And last but not least, we will let the floor to Stefano Pozzi-Muccelli, that is working from Lux Innovation, and that will present the AEC accelerator presentations. And then we will close the workshop with the next step. So now we will start the presentation of the different partners that help build this series of webinar. I will start by MATERALIA, which is the cluster I'm working for. MATERALIA is a competitiveness cluster that is located in France, in the Grand Est region. We have about 310 members. 82 of them are SMEs. We are working on different fields of interest, such as the additive manufacturing, factory of the future, and digital transition. Also in advanced material and new processes, circular economy, green transition, and research and responsible innovation. So we have different expertise that we can provide for European call, such as consortium identification, partner search, event organization, networking, and customized information monitoring. We can also help with stakeholder engagement, key information monitoring, such as skills, technology, and dissemination and communication. And for presenting and introducing the other partner, I will let the floor to Alexander.
Thank you, Jeremy. Yes, so in fact, on our side, it is also a cluster. Next slide, please. Exactly, it's our cluster, the materials and manufacturing cluster from Lux Innovation. So Lux Innovation is the national innovation agency in Luxembourg. And our cluster, which is managed by Caroline Müller, also today present in the chat, is there to support this initiative. And what they do mainly is focusing and fostering on innovation, business development, and cross-sector cooperation. So the main objective of our cluster at Lux Innovation is the implementation of new technologies and the creation of high added value in the industry ecosystem in Luxembourg, and this more specifically in target areas such as Industry 4.0, additive manufacturing, and automation and robotics. Now, it's also of very great interest to have this greater region projects. One of them is, for instance, the plastic loop and plastic recycling project, which is particularly supported by the cluster. Besides that, the cluster also promotes the Luxembourgish industry in the greater region and at international level to foster the local economy. And eventually, we are also there to stimulate the innovation and business development through public-private partnerships and cross-sector flagship projects. Today, the cluster itself has 140 members, among whom are 102 companies. As said before, Caroline Miller is the cluster manager, and if you have any specific questions, you can also address them here directly in the chat. The next two presentations are regarding the other two clusters from Belgium and more specifically Wallonia. So we have two clusters there. The first one, Pôle Mécatech, which is a competitiveness cluster focused on mechanical engineering. Their main objective consists in providing support to set up collaborative innovation projects, R&D projects or investments projects, and they are focused on several technological fields: advanced manufacturing, advanced materials, mechatronics, and data technologies. This leads also, of course, then to very interesting application domains, such as energy, industry, medical device, but also going further to defense and security, mobility, and construction. The competences that the cluster has are key to support its members then to set up and join innovative projects at European level. They have today 291 members, including 147 companies. And if you have specific questions with regard to this cluster, you can contact Thibaut Van Roden, whose email address you will find here on the left side. The other cluster which is participating as a partner here is SKYWIN. Similar as the previous one, it's a competitiveness cluster from Wallonia, but they have a different focalization sector. And this is going specifically into aeronautics, space, drones, defense, and engineering, which leads again into very interesting topics which they cover, such as composites materials, advanced metal alloys, or also systems and applications for space and drones. This cluster has 158 members today, including 111 companies. And for questions, Pierre-Jean Fondu will be available. You can also have a look at the previous sessions where he presented. Then we have finally also the pleasure today to announce a new partner from Germany, and more specifically from Saarland. So it is our pleasure to have among us today Nicole Boissier, who is a senior project officer for internationalization at SARIS, which is based in Saarbrücken. She will be able to provide us with an introduction on SARIS and a broader view on the innovation landscape in Saarland. Nicole, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alexander and Jeremy, for having me. Thank you also to Lex Innovation. For us in Saarland, it's always a big pleasure to join forces with our partners in Luxembourg for common events or for connecting our innovative companies. Last occasion was for the Hannover Messe with the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce, where we had a common booth. Should I already share my screen? I'm seeing your screen for now.
Yes, I think you can upload it then.
Okay. Here we go. So my name is Nicole Boissier. I'm leading the internationalization and foreign trade promotion team at SARIS, Saarland Innovation and Standort. Of course, I will come back in a few minutes to our services and our role in Saarland's economy. But let me please say just some words about Saarland as a location, because of course we are neighbors, but I noticed that often we don't know our neighbors so well. First picture you see here, Großes entsteht immer im Kleinen, is one of the pictures of our Saarland marketing, which is one of the departments of SARIS. Saarland is a small region in Germany, quite small like Luxembourg, but Saarland is also an industrial state with an above average export rate. For many companies in Germany and in Europe, we are kind of strong industrial workbench. So very important in Saarland is, of course, the automotive sector. including suppliers, but also Ford production site in Saarlouis, ZF plant, Bosch, Michelin. Then we have steel, especially now CO2-free steels from Dillinger Hütte and Saarstahl. Automation engineering plays a big role, and of course high-tech and software firms like the Share Group and Orbis. So now our industrial future is facing big changes, and these big changes make innovation more and more important in Saarland. So fortunately, we have a lot of great research institutes established in the mid of the 1980s. We have two I&M institutes, one for new materials, one for pharmaceutical research. We have the DFKI, the German Research Institute for Artificial Intelligence, and a newer institute, CISPA, which is a leading institute for cybersecurity. They are all located close together, like you see in my presentation, which make it easy to work together, to link, to create connections between the different institutes, but also between our companies. So the Saarland was for a long time a site for car production, and as you all know, the conditions in automotive are now rapidly changing. Car production land, just to give you an example, everybody knows that we are producing the Ford Focus in Saarland, but in the BMW 5er series, half of the parts are produced in Saarland. So now with all the change in automotive, we also have to change our structure. So what are we doing? Saarland is, since last summer, H2 model region. So we have a lot of projects going on in the H2 research. Then we had really good news last year. The Chinese manufacturer Asphalt will build 2 plants in Saarland with more than 2,000 people who will work there in, I think in 2 years, there should be these 2,000 people working for battery cells. The steel production is focusing on CO2-free steel, make greener steel. Of course, we are working on topics around autonomous driving and the cybersecurity linked to this autonomous driving, and on all the topics having to do with smart factory, AI, and Industry 4.0. Also, I would underline the importance of the startup and founder scene in Saarland. There are a lot of organizations, institutions to support our founders, because it's a key point for innovation to link innovative new startups with settled SMEs and with research institutes. And our special aim is to do this in a cross-border way, to link them together with partners in France and in Luxembourg. So Zaris, who we are and what we do. We were established in 1954, have actually more than 60 employees, and we are located in the IHK, in the Chamber of Commerce, in the heart of Saarbrücken, supported and founded by the State Chancellery, the Ministry of Economics, Labor and Energy. And the Chamber of Commerce is, of course, one of our biggest partners. So what are we doing? Further vocational training, internationalization, I already talked about it, securing skilled labor, the Saarland marketing, startup support, clusters and network, and innovation and technology advisory. So I would have liked to bring my colleague from Innovation and Technology Advisory with me today, but she was not free. Just to tell you, if there are any questions on more precisely on our programs, you contact me later and I will get you in touch with Dr. Lorenzen. So we have several clusters. Automotive cluster, I already talked about it, IT cluster and healthcare. And the innovation and management technology transfer. I go forward on this quickly because time is running. So several possibilities to support SMEs. This slide is in German because Dr. Lorenzen lent it to me for this presentation today, just to tell you that there are many programs we can give advice about it from the beginning, from the start, from the company, from the founding phase, about the phase when you need to strengthen the competence, and also programs that are more linked to the market. I think several of them, we will talk about it later in the presentation of the other speakers. So our part from Saarland in the world, internationalization, we also have at Saris 2 small programs for our SMEs and startups. So individualized measures to support the market access for the companies. Before the Corona pandemic, it were about 3,000 euros, so 50% of the whole amount the company invested. With the pandemic, we got a little bit more money from the ministry, so now it is even 7,500 now and 70%. So these funds are used for matchmakings in identified markets, for the participation on trade fairs that are not organized by us, also to create more specific support like websites in the language of the market companies want to explore. Some examples of companies we have supported in the past, bikes in Cuba, for example, but maybe more interesting for the innovation part here, goodie bags, virtual goodie bags for fair trades with the startup phenomena. Through the work with these startups, we realized that we must even do more for them and bring them together with SMEs and with research institutes and create a strong link between all these players. So this is what I wanted to talk especially today. The building you see in this picture is in the heart of Saarbrücken. We will have this part of the building here, starting with the month of June. And there will be developed a new place for startups, for founders, but also for makers, for SMEs. This place will be called CoHub 66. And it is not a co-working space, but a cooperation space. Means we are moving in this new place with several partners. For example, with the SIKB, so Saarland Investment Bank, will have a permanent counter there to talk about how to finance new projects. Saris Internationalization will move in, also Saarland Creative Industries Cluster, and the Institute for Strategic Aesthetic K8. We will create there inside places with permanent workplaces, but also for projects. There will be information for founders and a Fab Lab open to everybody who wants to experience rapid prototyping. It is a place for cross innovation between startups, SMEs, and players from like Saris and others. But we will also promote internationalization, especially for startups, by creating 2 new lines. One, which will be called Taker from Saarland, will help startups from Saarland to participate in international accelerators. And the second, called Connecting to Saarland, will favorize access from startups from abroad to make a stay at our place in Saarland at the Co-op 66. So we will invite them and connect them with all the players and companies which could be interesting for them. Of course, for this project, we are hoping to find a lot of partners in the greater region. So everybody here inside feel invited to get in touch with us for more information or for a short visit when you come next time to Saarbrücken. And the idea is really to create a link between founders, companies, and with other clusters to make this new place a place for innovation from the bottom, and to help to make true this motto from Saarland, great things come out of small things. This is really our idea, participate in the future of the greater region and make that it is viable, that we face the new challenges, and that people want to come visit and want to stay with us. Thank you for the invitation and your attention.
Thank you very much, Nicole, for this very impressive presentation. It's good to see all these initiatives you have for the different clusters, but also for the on the entrepreneurial side. So I think there's a lot of things which could we do also in cooperation with the greater region, and I think we can be very happy to have you today as a German representative in this initiative. I'll just have a quick look now at the chat if there's any questions of the participants. If not, I would maybe just like to ask, how many members do you have today in your organization? How many companies do you are you addressing currently?
In Saarland?
Yeah, with Saris.
Oh, with Saris, we are addressing everybody, so it's about more than 2,000.
And really
so in different clusters, it is really yeah, we are a small state, so of course we have not so many companies as you may have in Berlin or Bavaria, but we are addressing all companies and all clusters.
Okay, I think that's really great to hear, and I think it will also be for the following events good also to get more insights into the cluster. So thank you very much already for your presentation. We then would like to move on to the next presentations, which will be about the funding programs which can help you then to set up international collaborative R&D projects. And we will get more insights now into 3 different programs. First, into the Eurostars 3 program, which is a joint initiative between the Eureka Network and the European Commission. It will be presented by Camilla De Latte. Then we will go on with the IraSME program, an international collaboration R&D program led under the umbrella of the Ministry of the Economy in Germany and presented by Jenny Goodlatte. And finally, we will finish the presentations with Stefano Pozzi-Buccelli from Lux Innovation regarding the European Innovation Council Accelerator, a unique funding instrument of the European Commission. I thereby would then like to give the floor to Camilla De Latte. She's working as a monitoring project officer at the Eureka Secretariat in Brussels. Camilla, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexander. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for having me here. I hope you can see my presentation and hear me well. So as Alexander just said, I'm working for Eureka, who is a public network that consists of ministries and funding agencies. And the aim of Eureka as a network is to support company that wants to innovate and to reach new market. Today, I'm going to present you Eurostar. So Eureka started with and the network started in 2007 with Eurostar 1. We saw the program growing towards Eurostar 2 under Horizon 2020. Now, as you know, Horizon 2020 is over, so we are working on Eurostar 3 under Horizon Europe. We are submitting as a network, as a consortium, the proposal to the European Commission under the Innovative SME partnership. Now, if I go more into details on Eurostar 3, so we want indeed to boost international cooperation. That means that we don't accept single beneficiaries for apply to funding, but you need to have a consortium, so at least 2 organizations coming from 2 different countries. We also kept the bottom-up approach because we believe this is one of our strengths. So it's not the program telling applicants where they should innovate, but it's really the consortium selecting the area according to their needs and their expertises. Another pillar of the program is the fact that the process, product, or service that the consortium intend to develop needs to be close to market. So this is also an important part of the program. Here in this slide, you can see the Eurostar countries, so the country that participate in Eurostar. As you can see, we cover Europe, but we also have other countries such as Canada, South Korea, South Africa, and in Eurostar 3, Singapore is at the moment in the process of becoming a Eurostar country, where companies have the same benefits as the European companies. This means that funding is available and also that support is available as well. So, of course, participants from Europe are very much welcome to create a consortium with them. Another element that might be worth to mention is that, of course, UK, Turkey, and the country that are becoming associating under Horizon Europe will also participate in Eurostar because they are Eureka country. Why to participate? First of all, because there is funding available. But not only. So through Eurostar, you can boost the international cooperation. You can work together with different partners from all around Europe and also outside Europe. This allows you potentially to reach new markets, to share the risk of the project, to have access to expertise that maybe you don't have in-house, and to really build up a partnership. Again, it's important to mention that as Eurostar basically is based on the National Funding Agency, there is support available for companies that want to participate in the program at national level in the national language. So that's, we believe, is one of our strengths as well. Please contact your National Funding Agency to get more information and so on. Here, just few numbers. They are coming from Eurostar 2, of course. So we like to say that Eurostar is a competitive program because around 29% of the applicants receive public funding. And then you can see some result after the project has been approved, funded, and implemented. So we see that 45% of participants in a Eurostar project are able to reach new markets. And we also see that 84% of the project partner build a long-term business relation with the partners in the consortium. So we believe Eurostar could be beneficial. Now, looking into the funding, who can access funding? So the main target of Eurostar are indeed the SME and startups, but there is public funding available also for other type of organizations, such as large company, university, research organization. Again, what is very, very important here is that because the funding is managed at the national level, it is important that each organization contact the national project coordinator to check which kind of funding is available for which type of organization, and which type of activities in the project are eligible for funding. You do that at the beginning and you avoid potential issues or surprise later in the process. So again, this is really, really important. Now, a few elements about Eurostar. With the new program, we try to make it better, learning from what we have under Eurostar 2. So we decide to open up the program. So it's not anymore targeting R&D performing SME, but we target now innovative SME. Basically, an innovative SME, according to our definition, is an SME that wants to innovate through an R&D activities. So we don't look anymore at your past, but we look at what you want to do in the future. We have also streamlined the eligibility criteria. We have 10 now. For example, the proposal needs to have a civilian purpose. The project cannot be longer than 36 months. You need to have a consortium, so 2 organizations, and then there are some criteria related to the budget of the project. These are going to be published, so please check them before submit an application. But for example, in the past, we have a hard threshold for the time to market, but we acknowledge the fact that time to market is a need that each project has and can be different according to the different product or service you are developing. So it's not anymore a hard threshold, but it's going to be assessed during the evaluation. We also want to have a program that is leaner and is faster, so we remove the unnecessary bureaucracy, and this results in the fact that after the submission and the call deadline, evaluation results are given to the applicants earlier, so faster towards compared to Eurostar 2. We said between 12 and 13 weeks from the call deadline. We kept, on the other side, the evaluation process divided into steps. So the first step, there will be expert assessing your proposal and deciding basically if the proposal is good or not. And then a second step where an independent evaluation panel will rank your project, so from the best project down. And both these 2-step evaluation will use the same assessment criteria that you can see in the slide. So expert will look at your consortium, so they will assess the quality and efficiency of the implementation, where what they are looking for is if the project management is good, if the consortium is balanced, if there is added value through cooperation for all partners, and so on. Under the criteria excellence, they will look at the innovation, so if the level of innovation is high, if the technical risks are high or moderate, and if there is a good mitigation plan, and so on. Last element is the impact, so they will look at the commercialization plan, but also, for example, if the product will have a competitive advantage, how big is the market, where you want to introduce the product, and so on. All the 3 criteria will have the same weight in the evaluation. Again, the evaluation is centralized, so it's run, let's say, in Brussels, but the funding is decentralized, so it's managed by the National Funding Agency in your country. So again, please check with them which type of funding is available and get in contact with them. Under Eurostar 3, what we want to do as a network was also to better integrate in the EU innovation ecosystem and to have some pre- and post-Eurostar project activities. This is very much still under development, but I'm sure you will see more details in the future very soon. Before closing, just a quick look at the evaluation process. For Eurostar 3. So as I said, submission deadline, we are aiming between mid-September and mid-October for the submission deadline. Then we will perform the eligibility criteria check. So again, please check that your proposal is eligible. If you are not, unfortunately, the project will be stopped. Then we start with the first evaluation step, where we will have some expert assessing your proposal, deciding if it's good enough to go to the next step or not. And at the same time, at national level, so again, the National Funding Agency will perform a check that we call legal and financial viability. And it's basically on one side, they will check if you are eligible according to national rules for funding, and if you have the financial capacity of undertaking the process. If you pass this first step, you will go to the second step. That is the independent evaluation panel that will rank the proposal from the best to top down. And these ranking lists will be used in the funding synchronization. We also have another process, that is the ethics appraisal, that normally does not prevent an application to be found, but is more to ensure that projects are in line with the European regulation about some ethical topics, such as testing on animals, GDPR, dual use, misuse, and so on. But this doesn't prevent funding. So once the ranking list is done, we start the funding synchronization process, where basically the national authorities allocate public funding to the proposal according to the ranking list. So from the first project towards the bottom, till the national funding is exhausted. So as you can understand, higher your position is it in the ranking list, higher is the chance to get indeed funded. And then we will communicate the final results, let's say between the 12th and the 13th week after the submission deadline. So this is it on my side. For more information on the opening of the call with the exact deadline and information about eligibility criteria, assessment process, and so on, visit our website and subscribe to our newsletter. Information are not there yet, unfortunately, but they will be very, very soon. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Camilla, for this very insightful presentation. I think Eurostars is a great example of how joint initiatives can work between the member states and the European Commission. So thank you for this insight. And just to understand, so you mentioned there's 36 countries currently, plus possibly also Singapore joining up with committed budgets. How is it looking forward for the Eurostars program? This will be the first question. And the second question, what about the times for evaluating the project? How much time does it take?
Okay, so basically, Eurostar 3 will have, as you said, 36 plus Singapore that is in process, but we believe it will be able to participate in the first call mid-September, mid-October. And there is committing funding from all this country. Now, I don't have the details regarding the first call, but I'm sure also this information will be soon available on the website. Then second question, how long does the evaluation process take? So we calculate, let's say, 12, 13 weeks of the evaluation process running between the cutoff deadline, so the submission deadline, and the moment when participants are informed about the results. So your project has been funded, or unfortunately your project has not been funded. 12, 13 weeks. Alexander, I don't know, I see from the chat that there is a question. Yes, is something I didn't mention, but I think is very relevant. How many deadlines per year can we expect? So for Eurostar 3 will be, again, 2 deadlines per year. The first one for 2021 will be in the second half of the year, so September, October, and then in 22 we will start with 2 deadlines. Normally, we always have February, March, September, October. So we will keep this to ensure continuity.
Great, and I think there's also another question from Christophe Arnold. How would you explain to a company or researcher the difference between Eureka and Horizon Europe, most industrial pillars? Camilla, would you like to answer this? I think what I can say,
so
it's certainly that Eurostars is a program, a joint program, so there's national funding involved, and there's of course a very strong cooperation with the member states. But maybe you can further go on with this, Camilla.
Yeah, Alexander, I think what you said is indeed the main difference. So Eureka is basically a network or funding agency. So the national presence is much stronger, not only in terms of funding and national rules, but also in terms of support that you can receive at national level in your national language. So I'd like to say, and I hope it's true, that somehow companies and national funding agency are closer. I also think that, of course, Eurostar being under Horizon Europe, the elements are very similar, the rules are very similar as well. But yes, I think the strength of Eureka is indeed the fact that there are the national funding agency.
And maybe just to mention also, of course, European programs, and Stephanie for sure will tell more about it, are of course complementary, and we really encourage the companies to go for both programs. They have different aims, and for Eurostars, it's interesting since it is a 1+1 rule, so you can collaborate with any other country also outside of Europe based on this rule. But I think when you get also to know more about European programs later on with Stefano. So if there's no other questions, I would like to thank you very much, Camilla, for this presentation, and like to go on to the next one about IraSME, which will be presented by Jenny Goodlad. She is the coordinator for international R&D project at the IEF Project GmbH, located in Berlin. And Jenny, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Alexander, and the whole team at Lux Innovation for the invitation today. Warm greetings to everyone who's watching from Berlin. My name is Jenny Goodlad, and I am currently the main coordinator of the IraSME network. So what does IraSME actually stand for? It means International Research Activities by Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. And as the name suggests, IraSME's goal is to support consortia of companies and possibly research organizations in their efforts to innovate together by bridging the gap between scientific research on the one side and actual marketable innovations on the other side. And what is IraSME exactly? It is a network of ministries and funding agencies of different countries which are owners and or managers of their national or regional research and development funding or support programs. Those particular programs support collaborative R&D projects between SMEs and, in addition, allow RTOs as applicants or as participants in those projects, either as applicants for funding in their own right or as subcontractors to their industry partners. So IraSME is not a funding institution in itself, but is instead a way of synchronizing already existing and well-established national or regional funding programs well, on a national level and connect them to support funding for transnational R&D projects. This means that the respective national and regional funding rules are binding for you as applicants when you apply for an IraSME project in your country. Now, the Networks Coordination Office is based here at IEF Project GmbH in Berlin. We are a so-called project management agency working on behalf of the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy, which is also the owner and sponsor of the German funding program here in place within IraSME. Now, which are the members of our IraSME network? Currently, we have 10 network members. As you can see here, there's the province of Alberta in Canada, there's Austria, Brazil, Czech Republic, then Belgium, both regions, Flanders and Wallonia, Germany, Luxembourg, Russia and Turkey. Now the network has grown over the years and is surely continuing to do so, at least we hope so, and we try to expand and invite more and more members. Now, despite there being quite a number of different national funding programs connected through IraSME, there are some fundamental project requirements which apply to all. The main goal, of course, is to develop a new product or process or a technical service that is really completely new and exceeds the international state of the art. There are no restrictions regarding the field of technology, so it's the applicants who determine what they want to develop. So that's obviously the bottom-up approach. IraSME institutions generally fund developments up to the level of a prototype. And what's really important is that each partner in a project needs to show significant technical risks in their work packages and their involvement. It is also crucial as well that each project demonstrates a high market potential. So applicants need to provide a joint marketing concept that proves or shows really the benefits for all partners involved. And how does IraSME funding work? We organize 2 joint calls for proposals each year on a very regular level. The deadlines are always end of March and end of September. So the next 28th call already will close on the 29th September this year. We will probably publish it in early June on our website and through our partners' channels, of course. And the call after that will most likely then end on the 30th of March next year. But that still needs to be confirmed by all members. And what is it that you need to submit? Now, there's the IraSME proposal application form, and maybe even more importantly, the national application forms in your countries. So for our viewers today, obviously, it's important to know that in Wallonia, there's the Service Public de Wallonie, who's responsible for funding and receiving applications in Wallonia. In Flanders, it's FLYO, Flanders Innovation and Entrepreneurship. In Luxembourg, you get support from Lux Innovation, who act on behalf of the Luxembourgian Ministry of the Economy. And here in Germany, applicants apply for SIM cooperation projects within the Central Innovation Program for SMEs by the German government. You'll find a broad overview of those funding conditions on our IraSME website. We have prepared some national program portraits for download, but it is more important, of course, that you actually contact your national agencies and get information similar to Eurostars, what we heard before from Camilla. It's really important not only to rely on those little snippets that we provide here on our website, but do seek advice from your local representatives. And this is a short, look into what the IraSME application form looks like. So that's the easy part, I would say. It's just a short summary of your project. You list your work packages here and assign a letter of intent, which is already printed in the form. And in addition to that, you then submit your national applications, which may look very different, probably a bit more complex. Now this is, or here's some features of typical IraSME project that we see in the submissions. So consortia usually consist of 2 to 6 participants, that is companies or possibly also research organizations. And I would like to point out again that each partner has to work on a clearly distinguishable sub-project and meet the requirements in their country. And well, the minimum constellation would be then 2 SMEs or companies from 2 participating countries. And as I said, RTOs are possible either as applicants or as subcontractors, depending on each country's or region's rules. Now, partners from other countries may join project consortia as well. That's absolutely okay, but they cannot receive funding from any of the IraSME countries. Plus, there's no cross-border financing as well. Now, before I close, just let me point out maybe the 2 most common reasons why proposals are weak or fail. One is the lack of knowledge of the national funding criteria, and the other is lack of time to write an acceptable project plan or application. Now, these 2 things can actually be easily overcome if you bear in mind to contact your national or regional funding organization at an early stage of planning. And if you take your time and be thorough when preparing your proposals, we do have those 2 calls each year. So there's not really, you know, a need to rush things or to worry about a missed deadline. Yeah, and if you have questions, of course, and seek more advice, you can contact us here in Berlin at our IraSME coordination office. You can send us an email, of course, and visit our website. We also have a newsletter, which you may subscribe to as well, of course. And yeah, and you find those contact details of your local agencies on our website as well. So Alexander Link, for example, is the representative of Lax Innovation, and yeah, and all the other regions are presented there as well. So thank you very much for your attention, and good luck with all your future projects and endeavors. And yeah, that's it from me. If there's some questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much, Jenny, for this very clear presentation. Looking at the chat, are there any questions at the moment? If not, I would have one, possibly. I see that Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany are committed to this program. Now, is there also a chance for France, for instance, to join this IraSME program?
There is always. We would be always happy if anyone, you know, a responsible funding agency of similar market-oriented R&D funding programs would contact us. We'd be happy to expand the network. Currently, there are no French regions or agency a member of IraSME, but as I said, of course, French companies can always be a part of any consortium. They would just have to find out how to finance themselves, possibly self-fund their parts, or apply for funding independently. Well, for German applicants, maybe it's interesting to know that our ministry, the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy, has a bilateral agreement with France, with BPI France as a partner. So there may be possibilities to connect French and German companies through this bilateral call for proposals. Yeah, so, but we're always happy to expand. So any yeah, contact is very welcome.
Great, and thank you very much. I would just like to recall rapidly to the participants that we still have the polls ready to your service. So if you go into the chat and scroll to the poll side, you can still vote and give us some insight if you are interested in participating in future calls, if you have already collaborated with partners of the greater region, or if you have been involved in European projects. I think this is very relevant for the 2 programs, Eurostars and IraSME, but also then for the next presentation about the European Innovation Council, where I would like to give on the word to Stefano.
Thanks, Alex. Started the presentation. Hope you can see it. Last very quick presentation about the EIC. The EIC is, in particular, the accelerator. The EIC is the area of Horizon Europe supporting deep tech innovation and market creation. So the EIC, for those of you who doesn't know, the European Innovation Council is an entire set of instruments, 3 instruments at the moment, supporting deep tech innovation from conception, tier 1 to tier 9 market introduction. Pathfinder is the instrument for low tier research, transition for intermediate programs, is an intermediate program for building a prototype, and the accelerator is for tier 6 and above, so for market replication studies and basically to bring your innovation to the market. Here, yes, a summary of what I just said. Just to notice that the Pathfinder is a collaborative scheme, normally for small consortia of 4 to 6 partners, 3 million euros in average 3 to 4 years. The EIC transition is open just to Pathfinder grantees or for FET Open grantees from H2020, and can include market feasibility studies and the activities toward the establishment of joint ventures. And yes, the EIC accelerator, which is the topic of today, which is targeting SMEs and startups with ambitious plans for innovation-based scale-up. It's mostly a bottom-up scheme. I just leave you a few seconds, the slide here, just for the recording, since we are short in time, just to see that there are some specific areas, the specific dedicated budget lines coming from Next Generation EU, where you can have a ring-fence budget for some top-down research in the EIC pipeline. What's the policy? What's the policy behind the EIC accelerator? The problem is that Europe is great at creating innovation, but when we have to translate this innovation into market opportunities, we tend to lag behind. This is an old picture from about the unicorns in the world, and yes, Europe tends to be rather small between the US and Southeast Asia. So, what's the scope of the EIC accelerator? Basically, it's an instrument, it's a blended finance instrument designed to fill the funding gap for high-risk innovation and to bridge the gap when they are ready to be co-financed or by InvestEU or by private investor. How does it work? You have a grant component, 2.5 million euros, 70% funding rate, and an investment component, 15 million euros coming from this new established venture capital of the Commission, the EIC fund, for a maximum of 25% value of the company. This is to have the possibility to run the company, the commercial activities of the company, while the company is doing the innovation project. So you're not burning your cash while you are doing your innovation project. You can co-finance the grant. You can basically also de-risk private investment, because what the EIC accelerator is doing is allowing you to reach market maturity, to reach scientific results, able to go to your investor, your private investor, and tell them, look, guys, I have achieved this. Now, if you see that there's a good chance in the market, you can invest into my business. Who can apply? SMEs and startups. So basically, it's the normal SME definition. The normal SME definition. It is also open in this year for mid-caps. So companies of up to 500 people can apply for equity-only support. Companies not yet established in the EU, but that are going to incorporate in the EU before they submit the full application, or researchers aiming to register a company. So if you are in the university and you want to establish your startup, then you can apply as an individual researcher and then incorporate the company during the negotiation of the equity investment. How does it work? It's a 3-step application. You have an online questionnaire, basically accounting for 5 pages in total that you need to fill on an AI-based tool of the Commission. You will also have to include a video pitch and a pitch deck. This is a pre-screening. Selected applicants at this stage are going to submit a full proposal, again on an AI-based platform with fixed cutoff dates. In this case, it's written 9th of June 2021, but the Commission has extended the deadline right in time for this presentation. So I'm sorry about that, but yes, it's the 16th of June. If you are the full proposal is your full business plan. If you are successful at this stage, you go to the face-to-face interview in Brussels, hopefully, or otherwise via Teams or Zoom, how we are used to do in these days. And yes, that was my last slides. 5 minutes run very, very short. So don't forget to register our newsletter on horizoneurope.lu. You can also become an expert and evaluate proposals if you feel that you're not going to apply now. So go on the Funding and Tenders portal for any other question about the EIC Accelerator, about Horizon Europe, also including legal and financial conditions. Please feel free to contact me. If it's in my remit, I will answer it. Otherwise, I will pass it on to my colleagues. And I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Stefano, for this very quick but very precise presentation. We are, in fact, running a bit out of time, so I would like to thank very much all the presenters so far, and then like to give on, if there's no other questions, give the word back to Jeremy to do the wrap up and to explain also the next steps of this Innovate Together initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexander. First, I would like again to thank all the speakers of today for their presentation. As I said it a bit before, today's presentation will be the link will be available so you can see the replay. I would like also to remind you to register on the platform to share your idea and your need, and to sign up for the next workshop that will take place in June. This is a very important part of these activities, because, as I said it before, we will really use your input to build the workshop of June. So if you have any question, you need information, you can send a mail to Alexander or to me directly. And well, I won't go through all the step again, but keep in mind that the next step is to register to the platform, submit your ID, and then stay tuned for the next session that will take place in June. So once again, I would like to thank everybody. And if there is any question you still have, you can still add them in the chat. And if not, well, thanks to all the participants, and see you in June.